Busy day for you yesterday. It seems like it started off at about 5:30. A woman in her 20s walked into a Billings hospital with a gunshot wound. Just kind of elaborate on that one a little bit this morning.
Yeah, very busy day, and a lot of things hit all at the same time, which really stretched our resources, but everyone handled it very well, so very pleased about that. Yeah, starting out the day yesterday, we had a woman show up at the hospital with a gunshot wound. Not a lot of information initially. We ended up tracking that down to an incident that had taken place at one of the motels on Midland Road. Later on in the day, we got into another 3 females and a male that were detained for further investigation on that incident, but that was a little bit labor-intensive initially. Toward the afternoon, and I think what has been reported on already, is that we had a carload of teens that were driving down initially 6th Avenue North, reportedly waving a gun around. Our officers made a high-risk traffic stop in front of Senior High because of the weapon report. Ended up arresting one male teen there for waving that gun around. That's not a good idea. We had a similar situation in the Belgrade area, and the individual was arrested for doing the same thing. We have that. Sheriff Linder and his deputies are working on a shooting out in the Shepherd area, and a second suspect showed up in town down in the 100 block Custer, and members of our violent offender task force were able to track that person down. Initially, there was a report of gunfire, which got us into that area, but it turned out it was just somebody banging on someone's back door extremely loud. But that person was located and arrested without incident. So those are 3 that took place at the same time. We did have a stabbing later in the day down on the north side, and then a couple accidents which tied up resources. So warm weather's here, and we're starting to see an uptick in activity.
So let's talk a little bit about those kids on Grand Avenue on KTVQ. They had some video on that. I don't know if you saw that, but they had some video on that. I'm just going, my God, kids driving around in a car, waving, per se, a gun outside of it. My gosh. I think if I was one of their parents, they'd be grounded for life.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what people are thinking, especially in today's day and age. That's certainly going to get a response from law enforcement, and in today's day, you may end up with something else that that you're not anticipating. So, what a high school antic, is you need to think those things through because it's taken very seriously today. And could have had a very, very bad outcome, if they didn't comply with the the orders of the police officers. If they're waving a gun around that looks like it's real.
Yeah, and thank God no school is going on, so that's kind of
that would have complicated things, especially I think it was around 11 o'clock. So, kids would have been out going to lunch, doing what they were doing. So it would have been a much more dangerous situation for everybody.
What's the percentile that you see the uptick of traffic accidents during these summer months?
I want to say probably, it's really not a steady increase. We just seem to have flurries of them. Probably, maybe 1 or 2% over a week or so. But again, some days we'll go and not have any, and then others will have 3 or 4. The things that concern me, obviously, when we have alcohol involved in those fatalities and serious injury accidents. And, those are the things we spoke about before, that a lot of those are preventable.